Good morning, everybody. I think I'm live. I have had issues with this before, so hopefully you can hear me and see me. If you can, I'd say write in the comments, but no one really watches these apart from Luke. So Luke, if you're here again, hello. Everyone, however many of you are here, thank you again for joining another series or another episode of within the series of the comment section. Every week I give you 10-15 minutes bit of content and really value in terms of how you can extract more value from your comment section. And this week we're going to be discussing, if I'm on the right tab, I'm not. There you go. Strategies for handling high comment volumes, tools and strategies. Now, in terms of high volume comment volumes, you'd be surprised of how many brands actually get a very high volume of comments. It's not just the big brands, it's those that are running things like competitions, those that have a really active community. So you'd be really, really surprised on probably looking at your own comment section, how many comments you receive, and also if you're running a lot of paid media. But for those that don't know, Rupert is a 24/7 social media assistant. It was born out of frustration from my previous roles of running paid social media. A lot of my clients really struggle to find the time to deal with comments, which is why Rupert was built and was born. So every week I like to start with a stat, and this one is 70%, 71% of shoppers who get good help from a company on social media would tell their friends shop there too. We know the power of referrals, and especially in a social setting, it's even more prevalent now. So again, if you're receiving comments, and especially those are customer service type questions, my recommendation would be get back to them and give them as good a service as you would if you were face to face. Here are some examples of brands that are receiving quite a lot of comments, and this is just obviously one particular ad. And again, I'll give you 3 examples here of brands that you may think would get more, but also some that potentially you would think would get less. So you'll see here you've got Nelson Active Homes, you've got Chiltern Railways, and you've got Stripe. 3 pretty decent brands, but you'll see here that they're all running paid social, which is fantastic, but they've all got comments. Now I can tell you now, most of the comments on these weren't responded to. So Nelson Homes have 37. How many have Chiltern got? 21, and then Stripe have got 85. That's a lot of people engaging with their brand. And again, there's so many missed opportunities there, but it just shows that it's not just the big brands that are missing out on here. It's also the small ones. But if you want to stand out in a really busy platform, engaging with your community, engaging with your customers within the comment section is going to make you stand out in comparison to your competitors. So handling high comment volumes, how do we do this? So every week I'm going to give you sort of 3 reasons why, and then 3 tips to take away for you to implement, which again you can actually do a lot of the time for free, which is great. So how automation can impact your business, especially when you're getting a high volume of them. So engagement drives growth. This seems very, very basic, but it's something that I want to bang the drum about, because I think some people, especially us as brands and business owners, we forget sometimes, which is high comment volumes means your brand is generating a bit of a buzz. Okay, it means that you're engaging with the right audience, which is fantastic. But if you ignore them, you're going to lose momentum. And what is something I feel that we forget as brands is responding to comments increases that visibility. What the platforms will then do is it will boost your post with the more active conversations. So from a paid perspective, you'll get a lower CPM, and from an organic perspective, you get something which I call free reach. So again, engagement drives growth, and we know that, but not many brands are doing it within the comment section, and it's the cheapest way within the comment section to do that. And the second one is customer experience equals brand loyalty. People expect responses, especially when they're asking a question or they've got a potential concern about your product. Some of the studies that are out there, one showed that 79% of consumers expect a brand to respond to them within 24 hours. If you're not going to respond back to these questions, your trust erodes with that client or that potential customer. And again, there's so many missed opportunities there, which I see across the comment section, across multiple industries as well. So again, just try and bring that experience that you would in a brick and mortar store into a social setting. And again, if people are asking those questions, be responsive, don't be unresponsive. The third one is missed comments equal missed sales. This is so simple. But many of the comments that I see contain direct or indirect purchase intent. So a new feature within Rupert, and not pitching Rupert at all, which is we actually notify users now of sales opportunities. And an account that I was looking at with an agency client of ours earlier this week, they have a hotels client, and actually this week alone, the last 7 days, they've had 37 sales opportunities in their comment section, and actually within the last 30 days, they had 112. Now, if you think the average hotel room stay is £140, again, you reverse engineer that for the amount of sales opportunities within the comments there are, that's a lot of revenue being wasted and actually being missed. But again, potential customers are going to be asking about pricing, availability, potentially product features, and you need to respond to them. Again, it's quite hard to track all the time, especially if you're not using a platform, but you are leaving money on the table if you're not responding. Here's a brand actually I thought were actually responding really consistently. And these guys, you'll see they're a caravan park. Not the sexiest, although I love a caravan holiday myself, but they were really consistent. They responded to every single one, and you could see that actually their engagement on their posts, especially from a paid perspective, were really growing. And again, they were very, very consistent. Another brand that does it very well, if you want some recommendations of ones to go see, Huel, I speak about them quite a lot. They're very consistent and they're unapologetic actually in their responses. So again, that's another brand I'd recommend going and have a look. But yeah, these guys, Holgate's Caravan Park, have a look at their paid social ads, and you'll see the comments. All of them responded to in a really nice and authentic way, which I really liked. So strategies for effective content management, especially from a high volume perspective. So again, these are actionable tips you can take away to sort of combat the automation pitfalls that a lot of people I'm seeing fall down with at the moment. So use AI powered social media inbox. I know this seems, and this isn't just Rupert, you know, there's other platforms you can use to put all your comments into one. You know, if you're using things like Sprout Social, if you're using Hootsuite, they already do that, and just try as best you can to keep on top of them. There are, you know, again, just try and keep them into one inbox. We know if you're using, for example, Meta Business Suite isn't great for comments, especially with the notification side, and especially if you're going to invest amount of them, sales opportunities and other customer service questions will be missed. But my recommendation would be to try and get them into one centralized inbox. And if you can use something like Rupert then to AI to then segment and categorize them, you're going to be in an even better position then, because you won't be missing out on those opportunities that are naturally going to fall into those. So you will probably already be using a social scheduler if they already have that feature in terms of the inbox. My recommendation would be to utilize it. Potentially going into the second one, which is create pre-saved response templates for common questions. Again, a lot of the questions you receive will be much of a much. So it might be product questions, it might be timetables, it might be delivery options. I would have a Google Drive document or a Google document just with preset responses ready to go. My recommendation would be to try and change them as best you can. There's nothing worse than seeing a copy and paste job from a brand to the responses. It looks really unauthentic, and the customer isn't really going to get that authenticity from you, which is what they're craving. Although, yes, you've answered the question, we don't want you to be a robot. So yeah, try and create those pre-saved responses in a template. But my recommendation would be to try and change them up and tweak them slightly. What I'd also mention is for those that are quite negative, or they've got particular questions because they've had a bad experience with you, I would still respond to them within the comment section, but then I would try and get them into the DMs, then sort out and triage whatever the issue they've got there. So again, just something to note there. And the third one is set up a triage system for large comment volumes. So there's a couple of ways you can do this, but I would be, for example, I'd put them into, for example, high, medium, low priority. So high might be questions about pricing, product details, and complaints. Medium might be thoughtful engagement. So things like, giving you feedback, open up a discussion, but it's just sort of the general interest. And then you've got your low, which is, hey, nice post, someone put an emoji. I would try and prioritize them. Obviously, if you're using a platform, say, for example, Rupert, you would use the categorizations, but obviously not everyone can afford a platform, although Rupert is only £50 a month. But my tip would be to definitely try and categorize them into that low medium, and high, so things aren't missed. And again, things will naturally get missed if you're not using a centralized inbox, but I would try to prioritize them as best you can. Again, this is stuff that you can do. A lot of this is stuff you can do internally yourself. You don't need any external resources or platforms, especially if you're already using a centralized inbox. But again, the value you would get from these comments and the comments that you're missing with value in, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And a lot of brands that use a Rupert, when you actually put the data in front of them and go, hey, you've had this many sales opportunities, or you've had this many customer service questions the last 7 days, it just pricks someone's ear and go, how are we missing this? And then you look back at the previous day, 90 days of data, and they go, whoa, we've left a lot on the table. So again, there's some tips for you to take away and action. Another brand here, Anthony V. Again, not the sexiest of products in the world, but again, what you'll see here is that they've responded to all their comments. They get into conversations, and actually, from a pay perspective, it's great. It's what the platforms want. It's going to push their CPMs lower, which is obviously going to give them a cheaper lead and obviously a cheaper cost per acquisition in the end. And again, another brand I'd absolutely going to have a look at how they're responding. Very, very, very good. And that is it. That is the end of the live today. We are on, what minute are we on? 11 minutes. Perfect. So if anyone's got any questions, I don't typically get any questions, but I'm going to be here for the next probably 9 seconds. So if you've got any questions, type away in the chat box on the right or the left hand side, depending on what laptop you're on. Next week, am I here next week? I think I'm here next week. But next week we'll be discussing managing your brand's reputation on social media, best practice for hiding or addressing negative comments while protecting your brand image. And something else I'll also mention on that is actually just mentioning and discussing your tone of voice across your social media platforms versus other channels. For example, like a Ryanair have a very unique tone of voice when it comes to their social channels, but obviously their emails and customer service type comms are going to be very different to those across social. So again, we'll touch on those as well. But obviously, yeah, they're a very unique case, but I think actually a lot of brands could take some really good learnings from them, and in terms of how they have that real line in the sand in terms of their tone of voice across different channels. But no one's got any questions, as per usual. But I hope you have a great day. And as always, if anyone does have any questions around the comment section, if you want to try Rupert, go to Rupert.digital. We have a 30-day free trial. But everyone have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday.